The verdict is in. It is utterly brutal. Media organizations from across the political spectrum and celebrities everywhere have rounded on Meghan Markle after the launch of With Love on Netflix. Perhaps most scathing was a conversation with Tina Brown, the founding editor of the Daily Beast and the former editor of Vanity Fair, in a chat with Janice Min, the founder of the Hollywood newsletter The Ankler, formerly of The Hollywood Reporter, who said it felt like With Love Meghan was filmed in a mental institution for wealthy women and that Meghan's guests looked like they were in a hostage situation. Tina Brown added, "To me, I felt like it was a cultural fossil. She's always brilliant behind the curve, Meghan. You know what I mean? This was like the flashback to 2013, to the era of the TIG, her blog, which was sort of shout-outs for humanitarian causes and diptyque candles. It's almost as if she wanted to airbrush out everything that happened since and sort of go back to that moment in time." Angela Levin, our royal mastermind, is here. Angela, I mean, these are people who really would usually be behind Meghan Markle, but saying that it looked like she was in a mental institution for wealthy women and the guests there were in a hostage situation. Ouch.
Well, they were very nervous, the friends who were there, and they got tailing off, didn't they? And I think they had just had to do exactly the right thing, say a sentence, add that Meghan is absolutely wonderful, and that's it. But she also seemed very, very nervous to me because she was trying to get a lot of words in and tell them, what she was doing, make a list. And it was very, very nerve-wracking. I thought it wasn't a nice thing to have people round so that you give them some cake or some drink or anything like that. Can I just tell you why she didn't have it at her home?
All right, folks, this is brutal. Meghan Markle's new Netflix show With Love, Meghan is being completely torn apart by Hollywood insiders, critics, and social media. And the worst part? They're saying her guests look like they're in a hostage situation. Tina Brown, former Vanity Fair editor, called the show a mental institution for wealthy women, while top executives say it's painfully scripted, staged, and detached from reality. And trust me, it only gets worse from here.
Please.
Did you read that? Well, she said it because I worried.
This was in People magazine.
Yes, that it was very worrying that what she was doing, taking all the food from the garden. I thought to myself, that's ridiculous. So she said, our kitchen is where Mama, that's her, just cooks for the family, and with a crew of 80 plus people. That's the number of people who are doing this. That's a lot of people to have in your house. We're a close-knit family, and I love those moments. Putting Lily down for a nap, having lunch together, having sacred time together at the end of the day.
I know.
I mean, it is.
Then why are you doing this? But
yes.
Angela, there is so much hilarious detail emerging. Look at this,
yes.
that Netflix left in the edit, and it's people on social media who picked it up. Talk about salmonella wanting to happen. We're meant to believe this woman is some sort of maven in the kitchen. Look, raw chicken wings sitting on the tray in the fridge with absolutely no coating, no plate, and right next to her beloved crudités. I don't want to eat a thing at Meghan Markle's house. You'll go away with food poisoning.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's terrifying.
It is.
In a way, that says to you, she doesn't really know what she's doing, but she's just trying to make the program, and that's it. And I think that it's very surprising how little she knows and how she thinks that it's very important. And also, what is it about the TIG? Nobody knew anything very much about it, just a few people. This is before she met Harry. And she's still going on, as she has done over this, that they've ruined her life by taking that away from her. Now, I can understand if you say that your lover has torn away and you haven't got him, her, anymore, but actually, not a tig, and it's only playing with food, putting bits of vegetable down and pouring hot water over it. I mean, this is not anything so wonderful, is it? It's very strange that she's obsessed with this, and we've seen over the 5 years that she won't give up in anything. So she goes on and on and on and on about this. It's absolutely extraordinary. And now she's got it going again. She feels that she can try and get to be me again. Well, she's me all the time, isn't she? I mean, it's just, it doesn't matter, she can cook as much as she likes, but to turn it into a drama
Oh, I know.
is absolutely ridiculous.
But I don't want her cooking for me, okay? I don't want her cooking for me with those type of hygiene standards, Angela Levin. Now, look, what I've done is put together as well, I think it's really worth looking at a whole load of the big American critics who, fascinatingly, Angela, on the whole, used to be pretty pro Meghan. And how and why they've turned is deeply fascinating. First, this from Meghan McCain.
Let's break down this total disaster. Tina Brown, one of the most respected media figures, says this show looks like it was filmed in a mental institution for wealthy women. And Janice Min, founder of The Ankler, says Meghan's guests act like they're in a hostage situation, nodding nervously, saying exactly what Meghan wants them to say and looking terrified the whole time. And honestly, they're not wrong. Watch any episode and you'll see it. Forced smiles, awkward pauses, and a weird, artificial energy that just screams fake. It's as if these guests were paid to sit there and flatter Meghan, instead of actually having a real conversation. And here's the funniest part. This was supposed to be Meghan's big Hollywood comeback. She thought this show would turn her into the next Oprah or Martha Stewart. Instead, it's being mocked as cringeworthy influencer nonsense. Ouch. And if you thought that was bad, royal expert Angela Levin just shredded Meghan's entire lifestyle act, calling her out for being desperately fake and nervous on camera.
It was so testy and rude, and it A, made me think like they're not as good of friends as they like to point out to be, and B, she's like very sensitive about not having a royal last name or title.
The article that came with it made a point to say like the music dropped and it got really tense in the room and all of this stuff. It's like her producers hate her. If there was like a vibe shift, or we were doing a segment and maybe you were having a bad day and you said something weird to a guest or something happened, I would cut that out.
Thank you.
And you know what I mean?
Miranda.
I don't want you to come off as, allegedly. And also, by the way, I wanted to point out what they were doing when this whole conversation happened, because they're making food for their cumulative 300 kids. They're making cucumber sandwiches. Like it's high tea.
I don't even think my girls would eat that.
What children want to eat cucumber? I don't want to eat I want to go to Jack in the Box. I wouldn't want to eat a cucumber sandwich.
I have never once cooked with a cashmere cream sweater and sweater vest tied around my shirt. Like most of the time I'm in like sweatpants and a t-shirt or a tank top, because like I spill all over me and like things splatter, and I was just like, nothing about this. Like there weren't even like dirty dishes in there, and it didn't look like, even on the counter, it's like our counters are a mess. That's Ashley. She like comes to our house for everything. Like
you have toddlers, and so does she, and so do I, and the kids want to help you when you're cooking.
Yeah. So there's just, she's trying to be relatable, but it's like, nobody is going to cook anything or make anything in a cream cashmere sweater in a kitchen. And I don't know what she wants, because it's like on one hand she wants to be like relatable and America's like girl next door, and on the other hand she's like, it's Sussex, bitch. Like I don't understand. Like
get out of my kitchen, Mindy Kaling.
Yes. And that is the key point, Angela. That was the moment that people will remember. There's nothing relatable about getting infuriated at one of your friends because they haven't used your proper last name, which you hadn't even told anyone you were claiming to use.
Yes, I mean, that is just terrible, isn't it? But the feeling is that she wanted to say that she couldn't call her Markle anymore, because she's to have a battle with the royal family, and she wants she wants them to make sure that she's going to win this next one. And that's why she's using
Exactly.
the name
And it also means no matter what happens in the marriage to Harry, she is forever connected to the royal family. I think it was absolutely strategic what she was doing. I really do.
Yeah.
Now,
Why
Bethany
would she do
Frankel.
that otherwise?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Bethany Frankel is a really interesting one, Angela, because she is someone who actually wants to help Meghan. You know, she's a very successful former contestant on The Apprentice in the US, became a cast member of The Real Housewives. And she's just watching what Meghan's doing, a bit like Tina Brown, and just like, oh God, this is all so wrong.
When the frustration comes in, it's just like, please let me advise you. Please, I would do anything to just advise her. Like, it's just you're watching something, you're like, why'd you do that? No, go that way. It's like, this is the person. It feels like the woman, the last girl in the murder movie, the last girl that like, no, don't go that way. Go there. He's over there. Like, I'm like, no, why are you going that way? Go this way. No, go that way. We're like in a corn maze. And I'm like, just why are you making all the wrong turns? Please. Most people don't have these opportunities. Like most people, they're in rare air. It's like the pot of gold is right there. Just, please, why do you do, they go like this and the pot of gold, like, is nowhere to be found. It's frustration. We don't understand. We're just like, stop. Help me help you. Why did you do it this way?
Levin says Meghan was rambling, over-explaining, and forcing herself to act like an expert. Why? Because she knows she's not one. And let's be real. If Meghan was truly confident, why does she need her guests to constantly praise her? Levin also destroys Meghan's excuse for not filming in her own kitchen. Meghan claimed it was because she wanted to protect her family's privacy. But let's be honest, it's because her actual house is a $14 million mansion that looks nothing like the relatable aesthetic she's trying to sell. So instead, she staged the entire show in a fake set, surrounded by fake friends, pushing a fake, authentic image. And guess what? People see right through it.
But the problem is, Angela, Meghan Markle would never listen to someone, even someone really talented like Bethany Frankel. That's always been her problem. She ignores good advice from people who are trying to help her. She ignores it.
Well, she thinks she knows much better. That's the thing. It's not that she ignores it. She just feels, I know much better, so I don't need it. But of course, it's absolutely wrong. And I don't think she'd listen to someone say, look, step back, and let's look at all the detail. I mean, apparently she's saying how happy she is that it's been welcomed so much, this series. But instead of saying, well, I realize I made a bit of a mess of this and that, I'm really going to work on that bit and so build it up. But she says the whole thing has been wonderful and she's very, very good. It's very, very strange.
It is indeed. Now, I'm a big fan of S.E. Cupp, and her analysis with James O'Keefe was equally fascinating, Angela.
She is so consumed by an obsession with presenting this perfect package that she misses the best opportunity she was ever gonna get to look normal and authentic.
She was chopping with a knife like this. She had a paring knife and she was struggling to chop some garlic. Yes. And your little fingers and it was like mitsy bitsy. It was like, I was like, now maybe not everyone's going to see that because I'm a chef, so I'm going to notice that more. Yeah. But when you look at it, it's like you can see almost the struggle. Like, where's the kind of producer? Like, hey, Meghan, this won't read well on camera. Let's do the same recipe, but let's do it this way. We just need you to boil a pot of water. And it'll look like you kind of know what you're doing then.
You know what it's giving? We've all seen this because we watch a lot of Bravo. It's giving the new housewife who just moved into the big house that they could never afford, and they don't know how anything works in the house.
Yeah. But again, Angela, it was this opportunity lost. She had this opportunity to show to the world, yep, I can be relatable, and quite the opposite happened.
Yes. But, also she didn't wait until she had the things in the shops so she could cook with something that actually could be sold. So people would have a bit more of interest to think, oh, well, let's try it anyway. But to absolutely rush in without anything that actually will be there for people to try out for themselves. I mean, she loses an awful lot, doesn't she?
She really does. Sometimes, Angela, though, we just have to laugh at her ridiculousness. I'm a big
Yes.
fan of a guy called Link Lauren. He's been on Outspoken before, actually. He was a former advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his presidential campaign, but he absolutely knows the modern use of websites and social apps like TikTok. And his take, I thought, was not only very, very brutally smart, but also funny.
And now let's talk about the hilarious mistake that Netflix left in the edit, because this is peak Meghan Markle incompetence. At one point in the show, Meghan is showing off her cooking skills. But guess what? The cameras accidentally caught a shot of raw chicken sitting out on the counter. Yes, raw chicken. This is supposed to be a lifestyle show, and Meghan doesn't even know the basic rules of food safety. And the best part? Social media was the one to catch it, not Netflix's editors. This just proves what we've been saying all along. This isn't a real cooking or lifestyle show. It's just a vanity project, designed to make Meghan look good. But instead, it's embarrassing her even more. And now the bigger question. Is this the final proof that Hollywood is done with Meghan Markle? Remember, when Meghan first left the royal family, Hollywood was excited about her. Big networks threw money at her, Netflix gave her a $100 million deal, and Spotify bet on her as a podcasting superstar. No. Every project she's touched has failed. Spotify canceled her contract after just one season. Her Netflix Pearl project was canceled before it even aired. Her Netflix docuseries lost millions of viewers after the first few episodes. No. Her big comeback show is being called a joke by the industry.
I want to see the real Meghan Markle reality show. That would be gangbusters. The ratings would be through the roof. I want to see her chasing Harry around with those scrawny legs in the mansion after he left the toilet seat up. I want to see her screaming at an... We've all heard the stories for years about her alleged bullying of palace staff. I want to see Meghan Markle scream at one of her assistants and throw a cell phone when she has a minor inconvenience. That's the show I want to see. I don't want to see some ex-duchess, some duchess of Scamelot walking around a rented mansion with diamonds and jewels and bracelets and Hermes sweaters on, baking donuts. Now, you guys know I give credit where credit is due, and Meghan Markle, she looks good. She looks refined. She looks like she got a little drive-by lunchtime tune-up, a little nip-tuck.
And there was more.
One thing I'll also say is you can tell Meghan Markle has staff. I would bet almost anything that she has a full staff at her house. She has nannies, she has butlers, she has chefs, she has assistants, because nobody has time to do any of this stuff. Something else that felt incredibly inauthentic to me is that when I get together with my friends, my real friends, we do not talk like this. We're not like, oh, let's have joy and peace in our lives. Let's go sit over here and eat crumpets and scones. No, when I get together with my friends, we're getting down and dirty into what's going on in each other's lives. The last thing I'll say for now is what a fall from grace for Meghan Markle. She was British royalty. She bagged the most eligible bachelor on earth, the ginger bachelor, Prince Harry. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle went from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to the Duke and Duchess of White Castle. Okay, that is a fall from grace. She left the royal family to make candles in a rented kitchen. I've never seen someone fumble the bag so hard. I've said it before. She was a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. You'd think she'd be better at handling the bag, but she fumbled it. And she said in the show, I believe in the first episode, I want to do The Amazing Race. I love to be on The Amazing Race. Meghan, I thought we weren't supposed to talk about race.
Very good.
Very
from
good.
Lauren. And actually, Angela, we haven't spoken about how she mentioned The Amazing Race and wanting to be a contestant. I think it very much does show her head's sort of still in showbiz, right? She keeps talking about elevation. She's obviously given up on trying to save the world at all, but really she just views herself as someone who wants to get on TV however possible.
Yes, I mean, she wants to be adored, I think. All the people who come into her life have to make sure that they think that she is outstanding and that she can do everything and she needs worship. And I think that's what keeps her going. And she won't listen to anything else or accept anything else. that's happening, or even saying, well, look, I made a terrible mess of those donuts. Let's try something else. But she actually says, I don't like baking. So what's she doing there with baking? She's very much in the muddle.
She isn't a total muddle. And another thing she's in a muddle on, Angela, is this whole trad wife thing. And this is something, again, that Tina Brown and Janice Min discussed in their podcast interview on Substack. And Janice Min said she tried on a persona, it didn't work. This is very, as the kids would say, trad wife. I was very surprised. And Tina Brown replied saying it was just so unbelievably inauthentic. She's still searching for that thing that makes her authentic. It should have been her sitting there saying, will someone, for God's sake, get me an effing project? I don't have anything to do. I can't hang on to stuff. I'm at my wit's end. I mean, I would actually have watched that. It would have been really refreshing. But the trad wife thing is interesting, Angela, because of course it's become a movement connected to the Republican Party, to the MAGA movement, to Donald Trump, which is very much against Meghan's politics. So she's trying to say, no, I'm not a trad wife. I'm an influencer. I'm a businesswoman. But this has sparked a lot of debate online.
At this point, how much longer will Netflix keep throwing money at her? How much longer will Hollywood pretend she's a list? Because from where I'm sitting, this is the moment Hollywood finally sees through Meghan's act. And let's not forget, even her former Hollywood supporters are turning on her. If people like Tina Brown are mocking her show, that means Hollywood is done protecting her image. So, let's break it all down. Meghan Markle's Netflix show is being dragged by critics.
Angela, it's funny, isn't it, though? Because it's like she is really being a trad wife in this show, whether she likes it or not.
Yes. And everything has been done for her. Because you can see if you go into a kitchen and you've got the right bowl just there, and she's got all the ingredients just there, and all she had to do is just to cut one or two. The rest was all done. So it is really a very strange way of trying to impress people because they can see through you, and that's the trouble, isn't it?
It is the trouble. Or another big piece of trouble for Meghan, though, is that even her absolute base, so Vox magazine ran a very, very negative article and review, but Angela, so too did MSNBC, the most left wing of all American news organizations. And they wrote, there is nothing funny about Meghan's push into the overly curated world of cooking shows, but it does teach us something about the nature of celebrity. People who are famous enough can persuade entertainment executives to let them do pretty much whatever vanity project their heart desires. The only price such as exists is that the public then gets to watch them fail. Which brings us, and remember, this is MSNBC reporting this, Angela, which brings us to the biggest problem with this new show. None of it seems authentic, and none of it is especially compelling. It's all just fine. The questions I'm left with at the end of each episode after Meghan cooks, crafts, opines, and flips her hair in the Californian sunshine is why? Why these recipes? Why this show? Why now? Why her? It seems to be that the only answer is because she married a prince. The lesson here is that fame will get you a platform, no doubt, but a platform isn't self-sustaining. To keep people coming back, you need something more. And this is MSNBC, let me remind you, saying, Angela, Meghan is not especially charismatic, not especially funny, and not especially knowledgeable. She comes across as someone with more Instagram filters than common sense. So that is her base organization totally turning.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think if you don't listen to somebody, they're not going to sort of wait for you to improve. You're just out of it, aren't you? You're just, nobody wants to know. And I think she's really lost it this time because she's been so desperate. She hasn't been able to do lots of the other things she wanted to for Netflix. And so she's done this. She's been in charge of it, and she can't manage it. And I think we all need to learn from that we actually need to be very careful what we think we can do. And it's really horrible to have people tell you off like that and tear everything you've done. But then you've got to make a difference and sort of work yourself out of that corner and try again do something like that. But she doesn't. I think she swims from being very low to being very pleased with herself. And it's like waves, it goes back and forth and back and forth. So you never know where you are. And I think Harry, it's very difficult for him. He doesn't know where he is either. So he just does what she tells him.
At this point, it's not just another flop. It's a total humiliation. And the question is, will Netflix cancel with Love Meghan before it gets any worse? So now the big question, is this the worst Netflix show of the year? Should Netflix finally drop Meghan Markle? And is Hollywood finally waking up to the truth about her? Let me know in the comments.